Yes, they are. And we all still talk to each other. But he's pointing to you. Oh.
Good morning. I invite you to stand this morning and join me in coming together. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. Please greet one another. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love.
Thank you. Please be seated. Good morning. How exciting to see so many people here today. You can't know how good it feels to walk down those stairs from my office and hear the chatter and the murmur going on and all the energy that's moving. There were so many Sundays when that didn't happen, and so it's great to have that happen again. So thank you for being here today. And thank you, Stephanie Chang, for being here today as our musical inspiration. And as always, our fabulous band, thank you today as well. I do see some new faces out here, some faces I haven't seen before, so I want to extend a very special welcome to you. I'm also seeing some faces I haven't seen in quite a while. So I want to say welcome and a special welcome home to you and to all of you today. So thank you for being here. And I don't want to forget those of you who are tuning in virtually. We welcome you as well. We're so glad to have you, all of you, be a part of this service. We know that there is no distance, there is no separation in the consciousness of God and good and truth. And so we know wherever we are joined as one. And so we celebrate that. So thank you, and thank you. If you're watching us online on Facebook or YouTube, and you are not yet getting our newsletter, or if anyone here is not yet getting our newsletter, and you'd like to, go to our website, unitydenver.org. On the homepage, scroll all the way down. There's a little orange button right there you can click on and subscribe very quickly and easily, and you'll get the newsletter every Friday morning. If you are watching on YouTube, we invite you to subscribe to our channel so you are aware of when we go live on YouTube. And on Facebook, if you're watching, please like our page there as well. Again, so that you can know when we go live. We also have an app that you can download to your smartphone. If you would like to do that, send a text that says Unity Denver, one word, space app, APP, to the number 833-815-9486. When you do that, you will get a text with a link where you can go and download our app. And on that app, you can watch past services, you can donate, you can register for classes and events and things like that. So we encourage you to do that as well. And if none of that works for you, just send us an email at info@unitydenver.org and someone will get back to you. So I want to let you know of a few things that are going on here at Unity Spiritual Center Denver in the next few days and weeks. One, today, 11:15 every Sunday, our Youth and Family Ministry Director, Natalie Simons, does an online pre-recorded lesson for children. And those of you who are watching, we invite you to tune into that at 11:15. Also, the fall Feminine Identity Retreat is coming up on Labor Day weekend. That's September 3rd through the 5th at Sunrise Ranch. All those who identify as female with feminine energy are welcome to be a part of that. And if you'd like more information, go to our website, and you can register there as well. It promises to be a fabulous event, so I encourage you to go if you'd like. Those of you who are members, anybody can attend our annual meeting today. It's going to be immediately following our service. I'm guessing that's why so many are here today. If that's the case, then we'll start having annual meetings every Sunday. Not really. I don't want to scare anybody. We're not going to do that. And so once a year kind of thing. It usually happens in February. Because of the things that happened this year, we postponed it to now. And we do need a quorum of active voting members to make that happen. So we encourage you to attend. If you'd just like to know what's going on around here, what has been going on around here during the year, please attend that meeting as well. Let's see. We have a concert coming up on July 23rd, right around the corner. One of our favorites, Lauren Sheely, who sings here quite often, will be joined by Sarah Rex, a friend of hers. They will be doing fun and funny and playful songs and just having a good time. And so you're invited to come. It's a love offering basis. So come, bring your friends, and just enjoy a night of lightness and fun on the 23rd. And then today at 4 o'clock, one of our own, our dear Polly Roberts, made her transition. And many of you already know that, but we will be having a memorial service for Polly right here at 4 p.m. this afternoon. And you are all welcome and encouraged to attend that as well. So I think that's it for now. So I just invite you to breathe. Let's just come together. Relax, take another breath, invite your shoulders to just drop a bit. If you notice they're dropped, then you're probably a little tense. So we want to just come together in the energy of the space. And to help facilitate that, I use this crystal bowl, which is tuned to F, which is a heart tone, opening the heart. So I invite you to breathe into your heart, where we know that divine love of God abides eternally within us. And we breathe our awareness deep into that space of knowing as we just listen for a moment to this tone that helps us to get there. once again, just breathe into that energy of love. And we use that as our affirmation. Surely the presence of love is in this place. In this space in which we find ourselves. And in this space, in the depth of our own being, our own awareness, where that love that created each of us, that formed itself as each of us, abides in its fullness eternally. That unconditional love of God, the divine, that is living itself in us, through us, and as us this moment. And we open ourselves right now to the awareness, the conscious awareness of love's presence. Allowing that love to open our hearts, inspire our minds, heal our bodies. We know that love is the power that harmonizes and heals and restores and attracts into itself all that is like itself in our lives, in the world. And so truly we declare right here, right now, surely the presence of love is here, now, present, as each of us, living in its fullness and glory and wonder and mystery and majesty and abundance, wholeness. And as we claim that for ourselves, as we know it, truly know it at the depth of being, we know it for each other, those gathered here in this space, those gathered in this virtual space, those all around the world, we know this truth, this abiding truth. And into this field of love, we bring those who are on our hearts and minds, those who might be experiencing some life struggle, some illness, some loss, whatever life may bring sometimes. So we know the truth for them. We hold them in the light of that truth until they can know it for themselves. We celebrate the truth that God is the only power. Love is the only power in our lives. And so we claim it, we know it, and as we allow it to be, it becomes so. So it is. Amen. I want to share with you a short reading today from a book that I share from quite often. It's Children of the Light. It was a collection of writings from one of my very first New Thought ministers, Reverend Dr. Kay Hunter. And every Sunday during the service, she would write something every week and read it. So this is one of her writings, and they always begin, Children of the Light. So listen, Children of the Light. Listen to the voice of freedom that calls within you. It is God's voice, whole, perfect, and complete. It comes from the understanding that sees beyond all ideas of lack and limitation and gives you only the truth that shall set you free. That voice is within you. You call it the intuitive, Holy Spirit, your guide. It knows that part of you that is totally free from all fear, awe, and constantly urges you to see that part of yourself as your own divinity. A safe harbor in the storms of your imagination, the sounds of freedom say, I can, I am, I see, I know, I understand, I accept, I surrender, I release. allow these sounds to ease your path, and follow those sounds out of the maze of your own personal fears to the heaven I have promised on earth.
Someday, when we are wiser, when the world's older, when we have learned, I pray someday we may yet live to
Beautiful song, very touching. Someday, when we are wiser. Let's just take a breath, breathe into that vision. Someday, now, this moment, we claim that. We claim that vision where there is no fear, no war, no hunger, no homelessness, a new heaven and a new earth. And together we see it, we claim it, and we choose to allow it to be. Today, this day, in our hearts and our minds. And so it is. So, some of you might remember Paul Harvey. So today we hear the rest of the story. Last week, I started talking about the story of Moses bringing the Israelites out of bondage in Egypt and how they crossed over the Red Sea and entered into the wilderness, into the desert, where they had been wandering for 40 years until they could cross over into the Promised Land. And I looked at that metaphysically and sort of explored that a little bit metaphysically. And so today, I want to talk a little bit more about that. I sort of left you wandering in the desert last week. So this week, I want to talk a little bit more about the story and how we can use that story. And one thing I love about Unity is the way we interpret Scripture, certainly from a historical perspective, but more metaphysically and myotically, which means how can we use it in our own lives? How does it apply to me today? It's not just a story about something that did happen many years ago, but it's something that can tell us about us and what's going on with us. How can I use this story today in my life? And I love this story. It's one of my favorite stories because it is so rich with information and guidance for us. So the children are wandering toward the Promised Land. The Promised Land. What is this Promised Land that they're striving for, that they're yearning for, that they're leading themselves, that they're going toward, that Moses has been leading them to? Well, for them, the Israelites, they were in exile in Egypt. They were in bondage in Egypt. They were enslaved there. And God had promised them this land where they would be free, where they would reclaim their birthright, where they would know that they're loved, where they would know that they are cared for, where they would know that they are empowered, that they don't have to be enslaved, that they don't have to live in exile, where they will be free. So for them in the story, it was a real place called Canaan, where God was going to deliver them out of bondage, out of being in exile. And so as we know, Moses was guiding them through that, first of all, 40 years. But Moses didn't get to enter into the Promised Land. Moses died before they got there. And so Joshua took over as the leader. And Joshua, as he took over as the leader of this journey, he declared that they were going to enter the Promised Land in 3 days. 3 days. And he had this vision from God about how that was going to happen, what they were going to do. And God had told Joshua that he would deliver them into the Promised Land, and what he had to do was to take the soldiers, and they were to be followed by the Ark of the Covenant, and then followed by the priests. And the priests were to blow the horns, which were the ram's horns. They were to blow the horns. And they were to march around these walls of Jericho for 6 days, once a day for 6 days. On the seventh day, they were to march around the walls of Jericho for 7 times and blow the horns, and people shout, and that the walls would come tumbling down. Remember the story about the walls of Jericho? And the walls came tumbling down. And they did. All of that happened in the story. And then it gets a little gruesome. A little gruesome, where God said, go and destroy all the people there in Jericho, and except for one person who had helped the scouts. And so, it gets a little gruesome there in the story when we look at it from a literal perspective. So if we look at that story, I have to come down here, so I'll probably be off camera for a minute, but I'm coming down here anyway. So what does that story, how can we use that story for us? How can we apply that in our own lives? What does it mean to us? Why do we even care? Well, Mr. Fillmore, Charles Fillmore, who is the co-founder, one of the co-founders of Unity, along with his wife Myrtle, has this beautiful book called Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, and in that Bible dictionary, everything has an explanation metaphysically. Well, he says in there that Joshua, the name Joshua, has the same root word, is the same root as Jesus. And that for the Hebrew scriptures, that Joshua represents close to what Jesus was for the Christian scriptures, which is interesting in and of itself. So Joshua in the story represents getting close to a realization of our true self. Because really, if we're honest with ourselves, we're all sort of in exile. We are. We're all sort of in exile. Or at least we believe we are. And I don't know about you, but sometimes that gets a little scary for me. To think that I am in exile because we believe at some level of our mind at least that we're separate. That we're separate from God. That we're separate from each other. That we are all alone in this life experience trying to figure out our own way, and we become enslaved in some ways to the idea of separation, and we're in exile. Sounds depressing, doesn't it? But the hope is that through our recognition of the power of God within us, the power of God that lies within each and every one of us, the realization of that is what sets us free. The realization of that is what delivers us into this promised land where we know that we're not exiled, where we know that we're loved, where we know that we're taken care of, where we know that we are given what we need as we need it, where we know, truly know the power that we have to create and to manifest and to demonstrate and to be that love and light of God in the world. But it comes through our own recognition of that truth, and that is what Joshua in the story represents for us. One who recognized the power within to do what needed to be done in the moment to get to where he wanted to go fully and completely into this promised land. So when you hear the story, when we talk about the story, I invite you to see yourself in every person, to see yourself in every aspect of that story. We're only in exile as long as we continue to believe that we're powerless. We're only in exile and that fear and enslavement to the world around us as long as we don't accept and embrace the power within us. And so that's what Joshua, imagine yourself as Joshua, deciding in the moment, I am going to know this in 3 days. I'm going to claim my power in 3 days. Where else does 3 days show up for us in the scripture? Well, Jesus is in the tomb for 3 days. What does that represent for us? Many things, I guess. It could be we have to embrace it consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously. We have to integrate it, body, mind, and spirit. It could be many different things. We have to own it. We have to be it. We have to know it. And so in all those ways, we get to embrace that and be that and claim it. And so Joshua represents that for us. And then Joshua, for those of you who are familiar with the 12 powers of that Mr. Fillmore also taught about and talked about, Joshua represents one who claimed that power within him. The power of God that demonstrates within each of us in our humanness, in our ability. The power of God to connect with the wisdom that lies within us, the wisdom of the divine, the wisdom of God that lies within us. You know, Joshua didn't have the power to see beyond what was going on there or what he needed to do or how he was going to be free, but he connected with that through his meditation, I would guess, through his prayer, through his connection with the divine. He embraced that wisdom within him. You have that wisdom within you. We all do. We have that ability to connect with the wisdom of God within us. As we stop and as we listen and as we pray and as we seek and as we ask. And we have the power to understand what we receive. You know, the human mind is a beautiful thing. We have the power to understand that wisdom that comes from deep within us. We have the power of imagination to imagine what that might be like. Where do you think Joshua got the vision? Where do you think Joshua came up with this crazy idea of marching around the walls of Jericho 7 times? Wouldn't that sound crazy if you got that vision? What? What are you asking me to do? But it comes from deep within our connection with God when we're really willing to connect with that. And he had the faith to be willing to say yes. Well, guess what? You have that power of faith too. There are not some people that have it and some people who don't. There's some people who use it in some ways and some people who don't. Or they use it in other ways, but you have the power of faith. You have the power of wisdom. You have the power of understanding. You have this power of imagination and faith. And you have the power of will to say, well, I may not understand it, but not my little will, but the higher will, the divine will, as Jesus said in the garden. However, not my will, but your will be done. So Joshua represents for you and for me all of that is within us. We don't have to go seeking it somewhere outside of us. It's right here. And I don't know of a better unity message than that. That it's here, and it's now, and it's present. And so within you also are the soldiers, the strength, the power to do what you need to do, to take the lead, to take the step that you need to take, to do what you need to do to move through that. So that's what the soldiers, again, please see that in yourself. You have the strength. You are that strength when you choose to employ it. And you, my dear beloveds, are the Ark of the Covenant. You are the Ark. What is an ark anyway? It's a vessel. It's a vessel that holds something. What is the covenant? An agreement. It's an agreement with God that says, you are my beloved. You are the love that I am. You are an expression of God's love. And so can you see yourself as the Ark of the Covenant written in your heart? Written in your very heart is your covenant of love with God, with the divine. And then Mr. Fillmore says that the priests really blowing the horns represent our powers of release, denial, and affirmation. Our spiritual tools, where we deny the power of anything other than that God within us. And we affirm over and over again the truth of God within us. And then marching around the walls, marching around. The number 7 represents divine perfection. Divine perfection. And so as they're marching around the walls for 6 days, once a day for 6 days, blowing the horn with the Ark of the Covenant, they're walking around, marching around, and on the 7th day, they march around 7 times with strength and in order, using their power of order and the love, and blowing those horns of denials and affirmations, and they march around 7 times, and the walls come tumbling down. Those walls that we build up, the walls of fear, the walls that we believe protect us, the walls of doubt, the walls of fear, the walls of limitation, the walls that separate us from our own promised land, whatever those walls are for us. And then they march into the city, and they destroy everyone in the city except the one that represents love. Now, I don't like the idea that God says, kill all those people. But when we look at it from that perspective, those people that represent our own thoughts and feelings of lack and limitation and all that we allow to keep us from truly inhabiting that promised land that is within us to set ourselves free. And the story goes on after Joshua. I like this. It's such a rich story. But the one thing I want to point out is that when Joshua dies, the people go back to idolatry. What does that say to you and me? First of all, to me, unlike in the story, for us, it's not a one-time thing. It's not a one-time event, an occurrence that happens. It can be. But it hasn't worked that way for me. It might have for you. For me, it's more like a daily experience. Of using those powers, claiming those powers within me when I get into that place of exile, when I get into the fear, when I get into the doubt, when I get into the worry, when I get into believing that I have to do it by myself, I have to do it alone, or when I get into that idea that I am serving something other than the divine in me, then I have the opportunity to come back, to remember, to use my power of release, to let all of that go as much as I possibly can, to call on the power within me, to seek that wisdom, to meditate every morning, to pray every morning. Connect with that divine voice within me, the same voice that is within you. And to call forth that inspiration. Because it doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen automatically. It's up to you and me to make those choices day by day, sometimes moment by moment, to claim that power within us, to exercise our powers of will and strength and life and zeal. That's the other thing about them marching around and just yelling out loud before the walls fell. That's that power of zeal that Mr. Fillmore talked about. Claiming, proclaiming, allowing that zeal, allowing that life to be expressed through us. Don't you want to just get up right now and do that? But to keep that active, because we do still live in these human bodies and these human experiences. And that can be challenging. Right? I'm not alone in that, am I, please? Things show up for us in this life. We have loss, we have illness. Just because we claim the power and we enter into the promised land does not mean we don't also then experience life. I used to think that. I used to think, once I get there, I won't have to experience any of that stuff. I'll always be at peace. I'll always be loving. I'll always be blissful. I just don't think it happens that way. However, what I do know is that from that place, in that place, we are more equipped to handle whatever comes along in our lives. When we connect with that power within us, when we connect with the God within us, when we connect with love and all of those powers, all those faculties, then we have resources. We're not out here like tossed on the waves of life. We can call upon that within us to say to the storm, peace be still. Doesn't necessarily mean the storm goes away, but within ourselves, we're able to navigate that better. So it's not magic, but it's powerful. And it's truth. And so I just invite us all to once again there's no just in it. To claim that power within us. The power of the true light, the Christ, the divine. To know that we are powerful beyond measure when we know our truth, when we're willing to embody that. And when we're really to enter into that place of the promised land. The promised space in our own consciousness, where we truly know that we're free. Where even though the world around us continues to do what it does, we still know that we're free and powerful and empowered by the divine life that lives us. We set ourselves free from any idea of exile, from separation. And we celebrate that. So take a moment and breathe into that. Breathe into that power within you. Imagine there's this beautiful light, power at the center of your heart. You may see it as a bright white light, a golden light, however you perceive it. Just use your power of imagination to see it, feel it, sense it. Breathe into it. And with every breath, invite your awareness to grow. Invite that to expand within you. Invite it to fill up your heart. Invite your deepest knowing of that in your solar plexus and that place of wisdom. Invite that light to move into your head and inspiring you, your faith, your power of will and understanding. Igniting within you this zeal for life, this zeal for the promised land where you know that you're free. Breathe that down into your mouth, your throat area, and claim that power. Claim the power of God within you. I want you to just say out loud, say it as loud as you can right now. I claim my promised land now. I claim my promised land now. Breathe that down into your back and feel the strength there rising within you. Feel the power of order there in your abdomen. Opening your power of release and letting go of anything that doesn't serve you. And then igniting life, the life of the divine, the power that ignites it all within you to move forward, to do what you need to do. Take the next step to enter that promised land where all is peace. And just breathe for a moment as in silence. Just allow that to resonate in you. As you open and allow, claiming, crossing over into that promised land. deep river, Lord. I want to cross over into campground, deep river, Lord. I want to cross over into campground. So we claim that. Crossing over. Overcoming. Claiming. Allowing and being. That we are free and unlimited and powerful in this awareness of who we truly are. So breathe. Breathe all the way down to the bottom of your feet, claiming that you are now in your own promised land as you ground it, as you be it, as you claim it. Body, mind, and spirit, conscious, subconscious, unconscious. The 3 days have passed. You are now there, and so it is.
I am free, I am unlimited, there are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited, there are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited, there are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited, there are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now, right now.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, please be seated for now. So now is the time in our service where those of you who are watching have an opportunity to make a donation electronically. We appreciate that. Those of you who are in our sanctuary, if you'd like to make a donation, and we do appreciate that, there are baskets as you leave today. Please deposit your offering there. There are many ways for you to do that. You can do it online, mobily. If you have our mobile device, you can do it right now. Hint, hint. And we do appreciate you and all the ways that you contribute. So let's say our offertory blessing. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am thankful.
I know where I'm going, I know where I've been. Open to spirit, to find the love within. Letting go of judgment, letting go of fear. Opening my heart so I can truly hear. I am traveling on to another place. I am traveling on. God
What a great song. I've never heard that before. Thank you for singing that. Beautiful. Yeah, Cynthia James, everybody. She's the retreat facilitator this year, so thank you for doing that song. And thank you all again for being here. Those of you who are planning to stay for the annual meeting, I invite you to stay here if you'd like. If you need to get coffee, you need to take a bathroom break, please do that quickly and come back so we can get the meeting started. And thank you for those of you who are here for that purpose. We appreciate it. And for all of you who joined us today, thank you for choosing to spend part of your day with us. So I invite you now to join me as we say our closing prayer. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. As light, I illumine my world. The love of God enfolds us.